The millionaire stood frozen at the doorway, his eyes narrowing as he watched the scene unfold. His twins, children who had not spoken or laughed in years, were moving in rhythm, their small hands mimicking the maid's graceful gestures. She twirled silently, her face lit with joy, while they laughed without sound but with unmistakable happiness. For a moment he felt betrayed, but what they did next in the kitchen left him shocked and changed his life forever. The house was quiet, far too quiet for a home meant to echo with children's voices. Marble floors gleamed under crystal chandeliers, walls stood tall with paintings that cost more than most homes. To the outside world, the mansion was proof of triumph, of a man who had conquered every challenge life could throw. But inside, silence reigned. Jonathan Blake was a man the city both admired and envied. A self-made millionaire, he had built his empire brick by brick, sacrificing years of sleep, comfort, and companionship. Business was his battlefield, and he never lost. Yet at home, where victory mattered most, he carried a defeat that money could not erase. His twins, Lily and Lucas, had been born deaf. From the moment doctors told him they would never hear his voice, a storm had taken root inside him. He poured his wealth into therapies, specialists, devices, hoping to buy what life had withheld. Nothing worked. The children lived in silence, their eyes often distant, their lips rarely curved into smiles. Jonathan loved them deeply, but love alone could not silence his frustration. He wanted to connect, to hear their laughter, to speak and be heard. Instead, he watched helplessly as the distance between them grew. Into this world entered Maria, a maid hired through an agency. She was quiet, diligent, and humble. She moved through the house like a shadow, cleaning rooms, folding clothes, serving meals. Jonathan barely noticed her presence. To him, she was part of the machinery of the household, necessary but insignificant. That was until the day he caught her in the kitchen. It was late afternoon. He had returned from a tense meeting, his mind weighed down by contracts and deadlines. As he walked past the kitchen door, a flicker of movement caught his eye. He stopped, irritated at first. Staff were supposed to work, not play. But then he saw it. Maria was dancing. Her bare feet slid softly across the tiles, her arms sweeping through the air. She twirled with unexpected grace, her expression alive with joy. And in front of her, Lily and Lucas mimicked her movements. They spun clumsily, their hands following hers, their faces breaking into laughter, silent but radiant. Jonathan's breath caught. He had not seen his children laugh like that in years. For a moment, anger rose in him. Was she mocking them? Was she taking advantage of their silence for amusement? His fists clenched as he stepped forward, ready to confront her. But then, something stopped him. The twins lifted their hands and began moving their fingers in patterns, signs he did not understand, but Maria responded instantly. She signed back, smiling warmly, and they burst into another round of laughter. It was not mockery. It was connection. Jonathan's anger dissolved into confusion. He stood unseen, watching. For the first time, he realized his children were not unreachable. They had found a language, a rhythm, a way of being alive in a world without sound. And it was Maria who had unlocked it. That night, Jonathan could not sleep. He kept seeing their smiles, hearing the echoes of laughter that never came. He felt both joy and shame. Joy that his children could feel such happiness, shame that he had never been the one to give it to them. The next morning he confronted Maria. His voice was sharp, demanding to know what she had been doing. But Maria did not flinch. She lowered her eyes respectfully and explained, "When words fail, there are other ways to speak. I learned sign language years ago to help my cousin. Your children, they do not need pity. They need someone who will listen to their silence." Jonathan's chest tightened. Her words cut deeper than any insult ever could. For weeks he watched as Maria continued to work with Lily and Lucas. She taught them to sign stories, to express feelings with their hands. She danced with them, showing that music could be felt in vibrations through the floor, in rhythm pulsing through the heart. Slowly, the mansion changed. Silence was no longer emptiness. It was filled with gestures, with movement, with laughter that did not need sound to be real. Yet not everyone approved. At a dinner party, Jonathan's associates noticed Maria signing with the children. One whispered, "Imagine paying a maid to play games instead of work." Another smirked, "What's next? He'll have her teaching in schools?" Laughter followed, sharp and cruel. Jonathan said nothing, but his silence was no longer weakness. It was defiance. The ridicule grew. Even his own relatives questioned his choices. They told him children like Lily and Lucas would always be limited, that indulging them in dances and games was a waste. They urged him to keep them in their place. But Jonathan could not unsee their smiles. He could not forget the joy he saw in their eyes when they danced with Maria. He remained silent, but his silence carried unshakable honor. Then came the turning point. One afternoon, Maria prepared a small surprise in the kitchen. She had taught the twins to sign a message. As Jonathan entered, they stood before him, their hands moving in practiced rhythm. He did not understand the gestures, but Maria translated softly, "Daddy, we love you." The words shattered him. He had waited years to hear them, and though they came in silence, they echoed louder than any sound. Tears filled his eyes as he pulled them close, his heart breaking open in a way it never had. From that day forward, Jonathan joined them. He asked Maria to teach him sign language. At first, his movements were awkward, his hands stiff. But his children's patience guided him. Slowly, they built a bridge he had thought impossible. Months later, the twins stood before an audience at a charity event. Maria had choreographed a dance infused with sign language, telling a story through movement. Jonathan sat in the front row, his chest swelling with pride as the crowd rose in a standing ovation. The same men who once mocked now stood in silence, their eyes wide with respect. Public apologies followed. Jonathan did not boast, did not seek revenge. He only smiled, his silence louder than their shame. That night, he spoke words he would never forget. Silent voices can still sing. Strength is not in sound, but in love that refuses to be unheard. Dignity is not given. It is carried, even in silence. Maria remained by their side, not as a maid, but as family. She had given them more than service. She had given them connection, dignity, and joy. Jonathan's life changed forever. His empire no longer defined him. His children did. And it was their silence, their laughter, and the courage of a maid who dared to dance that transformed him. So when you hear the story of a millionaire, his deaf twins, and the maid who danced in the kitchen, remember this. Heroes are not always the ones in power. Sometimes they are the ones who speak in silence, who teach us that love is stronger than sound, and that joy can be found in the rhythm of a heart. And to you, watching now, this story belongs to you too. If it moved you, share it. If it inspired you, hold it close. Because somewhere, someone waits not for words, but for a gesture of love that can change everything. Sometimes all it takes is one dance in the kitchen,